Well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics and Random. Egberto, Willies, your host. Thank you so kindly for being part of the show. We are going to have a great show for you today. I have some great videos for you today as well. Videos that we did some in the last 2 days at KPFT, but one very special one to my heart from Jamaal Bowman today at the congressional hearing on antisemitism. I think it's an important take that he has. But anyhow, welcome aboard. Eric Hayes is in the house from Atascocita, Kingwood. We also have in the house E2247 from everywhere else. Paul Fleming is in the house from where again? Atlanta, Georgia. We have Lizard Queen says, good afternoon, Houston. Lizard Queen, that's an interesting one. And Michael Rodnin, of course, our great brother from Nueva York, New York, Brooklyn, New York. And in the house as well is the one and only Lee Grant right here in Montgomery County. Thank you guys for being here. Great to have you here. You know, yesterday we had quite a few people listening on Twitter. We had something like 100 and something folks on Twitter as we were doing the thing. I don't know what keywords got us lucky into that particular stream. I mean, the reality is we should have a lot more, but we don't. Bridge is doing fine, Lee Grant. I spoke to Bridge yesterday. She's doing fine, just taking a break, trying to cool her head. You know how it is. Our beautiful Bridge is taking a well-deserved break. She needs to get her head together in these difficult, very challenging times that we're having, where people are at each other's throats. You know how that goes. Anyway, let's see. What are we talking about here, Eric? Tom Ramsey, Harris County Commissioner for Precinct 3, had some heated remarks on Tuesday. Commissioner's Court. Ramsey pointed a finger at Montgomery County leaders, blaming them for the intensity of the flooding we witnessed last week and over the weekend. Ramsey Precinct is on the southern border of Montgomery County, and the San Jacinto River cuts through it. This location was hit heavily by the flooding. Now Ramsey claims the intensity of the flooding in Harris County directly results from poor flood mitigation in Montgomery County. He also pointed his finger at San Jacinto Authority, which is true. When you're out in the middle of the night pulling people out of their houses and knowing something could have been mitigated and do a better job, they could have released it 5 or 6 days ago. They knew the flood was coming. Ramsey said he is willing to work with Montgomery. Thank you for a change, for putting the blame where the blame belongs. It's something I've been talking about day in and day out. Welcome aboard, May Wood. May Wood is with us from Long Beach, California. All right, folks, what else have we got here? We also have from Eric Hayes says, right or wrong, House Speaker Mike Johnson lauded the proposed Safeguard American Voter Eligibility Act, which would require proof of American citizenship to register to vote in federal elections. Oh, my God. I mean, the people who vote are generally citizens. I don't think anybody wants to vote that can't vote. That's a figment of the imagination of people on the right. Sorry. Paul Fleming says a new Texas law requires porn sites to display a health warning that porn impairs human brain development. Yet Texas supports a dude who is currently in a porn trial and has an impaired brain. Well, that may be making the case for Texas, man. But I think his brain was way impaired before then. Let's see. Nadia Cindy says, my life with the liberal clans in Oregon. What is that about? I don't have the, whoa, that's not how we do it, Nadia. That's not how we do it. You can't put a long thing in there. Put a link, my dear. Put a link. All right. Lizard Queen says, LOL, you're already needed ID to vote. It's like these conspiracy theorists have never voted before. No, but you know what is actually interesting? All the voter fraud that we've seen thus far has been voter fraud on the right. Everything that we found on the left was something like a guy not knowing that his parole, was enough, or a woman who got jailed because she got the okay to vote, and then they told her she couldn't. I mean, it's all ridiculous, but you know how that goes. But that's all right. We are going to have a good show. Anyway, let's go ahead and start the show should I start with Jamaal Bowman? No, I want to start with the New York Times. Mike Cisak says, Egberto, federal officials have been caught handing out instructions to illegals on how to register to vote in each state and how to get a social security number. Oh my God, delusional. Can't help you. Carl Cox is Egberto. Carl Cox from Riverdale, Georgia is here. Welcome, Riverdale, Georgia, is Carl Cox. Will graduate from Garden State College in Barnesville, Georgia on May 17th, the day before my birthday. So your graduation will be my birthday present, brother. Great, Carl Cox. I want to commend you for sticking it out. I commend you for sticking it out. You are a good guy, and you did it, and you did it, and you did it. Look in the mirror and just tell yourself you did it. Man, I'm proud of you, Carl. I'm very proud of you. All right, let's go ahead. The New York Times. Barbara Wiltz is in the house from Michigan. Barbara from Michigan is in the house. Welcome aboard, Barbara. Great to see you here as well. Carl Cox from Georgia. Let's see. He called Riverdale, Georgia. I'm going to have to put that in my mind. And Barbara from Michigan. It's going to be a while before I get it, but I'll get it. He wants something on the screen. What is that? Adults without valid ID. Those are the numbers that these guys do all of the time. I think that before I go to the video, I think I should put that up. Adults without valid ID. Blacks 25%, Asians 20%, Latinos 19%, 18 to 24-year-olds 18%, seniors 18%, earning less than 35,000 15%. And guess, the very ones earning less than 35,000, you know why they are at a lower percentage? Because they have to have ID to get support, right? But whites, 8%, all 11%. Again, this is a concerted effort to reduce the minority vote. It is clear from those numbers, and that's why they support it. Lee Grant says we don't really have a democracy or a constitutional republic. It's more like a tug of war between the left who want loose voting versus the right who wants tight restrictions. That's not really true at all. We just want everybody who are able to vote without having to go through a whole lot of hoops. I don't think that's too much to ask for, Lee Grant. I honestly don't think that's too much to ask for. Anyway, the New York Times editor, I think, is willfully delusional. I want you guys to listen to this, and then we'll take it on the other side. Let's go ahead and do that right this minute. We start with Joe Kahn. Joe Kahn is the executive editor of the New York Times. And Joe Kahn was asked by Ben Smith, one of the editors at the Semafor. He said, Dan Pfeiffer, who used to work for Barack Obama, recently wrote of the Times, they do not see their job as saving democracy or stopping an authoritarian from taking power. Why don't you see your job as we got to stop Trump? What about your job doesn't let you think that way? And the editor, the executive editor, Joe Kahn of the New York Times, gave an answer that sounded correct, but it's completely and ridiculously, willfully ignorant. But let's go ahead and put what his response was. His response was the following. Good media is a fourth estate. It's another pillar of democracy. One of the absolute necessities of democracy is having a free and fair and open election where people can compete for votes. And the role of the news media in that environment is not to skew your coverage towards one candidate or the other, but just to provide very good, hard-hitting, well-rounded coverage of both candidates and informing voters. If you believe in democracy, I don't see how we get past the essential role of quality media in informing people about their choice in a presidential election. To say that threats of democracy are so great that the media is going to abandon its central role as a source of impartial information to help people vote, that's essentially saying that the news media should become a propaganda arm for a single candidate because we prefer that candidate's agenda. It is true that the Biden agenda is more in sync with traditional establishment parties and candidates, and we're reporting on that and making it very clear. It's also true that Trump could win this election in a popular vote. Given that Trump in office, it will probably be fair. And there's very good chance, based on our polling and other independent polling, that he will win the election in a popular vote. So there are people out there in the world who may decide based on their democratic rights to elect Donald Trump as president. It is not the job of the news media to prevent that from happening. It's the job of Biden and people around Biden to prevent that from happening. It is our job to cover the full range of issues that people have. At the moment, democracy is one of them, but it's not the top one. Immigration happens to be the top on the polls, and the economy and inflation is second. Should we stop covering those things because they're favorable to Trump and minimize them? I don't know how it's supposed to work in the view of Dan Pfeiffer or the White House. We become an instrument of the Biden campaign. We turn ourselves into Xinhua news agencies or Pravda and put a stream of stuff that's very, very unfavorable to them and only write negative stories about the other side. And what would that accomplish? What? That answer sounds plausible, but it's ridiculous. First of all, when he comes out and he said that the biggest issue on the American people's mind is the economy, or first immigration and then the economy and inflation, those are the things on people's mind that they would insinuate somehow Biden is failing at, not because of Biden, but because of the skewed reporting itself of the New York Times and others. They're the ones that come out and they lay the foundation for the misinformation that goes out there to the American people. Yes, they make it see, they talk about immigration being the big issue and they report just superficially what's occurring at the border. But they don't occur what's the genesis of what occurred on the border. If they did talk about the genesis of what's occurring on the border and realize that it is policy not of Biden, but policies that's grandfathered to Biden, etc., then Americans would look at Biden to be blamed for the immigration issue. If they reported accurately that the people that are blocking any type of immigration reform from occurring to alleviate the problem are the same people that Donald Trump represents, then the American people wouldn't think that way. If they went ahead and talked about the economy the way they should, the inflation is corporate greed and it's calculable. If they went ahead and gave that information over and over again, the way they give the misinformation as if inflation is some magical thing that occurs just because there's money in the economy, then Americans wouldn't have the thought process that they have today. And we could talk about, given the facts as they are, and democratically having Americans vote for their best interest. But the same problem that he's talking about is a problem created by his entire paper. Well, not the entire paper. There are good folks in the New York Times who try to do some good reporting. But what they themselves are doing, and then they say, oh, but we are not here. We can't be biased towards Biden, etc. Nobody's asking for that. They're just asking for straight reporting. And what we don't get out of all these papers is straight reporting. If they did their job, then it would be okay. But the very naive portion of what he had to say, more importantly, is when he said, well, democracy is a third item on the chart. How doesn't this guy think through different levels of indirection? Can he see that if democracy is lost, the fourth estate, the newspapers, the accurate revelation of information by our news media is gone? Is he blind to that? Can't he see that a free press depends on having a democracy? And if he is a paper of choice that is promoting or leaving a pathway for the one who would be anti-democratic to win, he himself is supporting his demise unless he thinks there's something in there for him. Again, Joe Kahn, executive editor of the New York Times. I have no idea what he's thinking about or how his thought process worked. But guess what? He did have a few good things to say about Biden. But of course, well, it has to be about war. The praises was for the war. Do you see the pattern here? You give him hell about the economy. You give him hell about immigration. You give him hell about democracy. But about the war, ha, ha, ha. It is okay, baby. Because as long as we're dropping bombs on those other people, it is fine. It is amazing, right? It is amazing. And when I brought up about war, there's something else we should remember, that the New York Times was a pawn of Cheney, the father, to get into the war in Iraq. They were all there singing the glory, glory, hallelujahs to get us back into war, or to get us into that war the second Iraq war. But that's how they roll. That's how they roll. He is full of it, completely and entirely full of it. Well, we have our numbers again. Our numbers are from E2247, day 215 since 7 of October 2023 equal at least 34,844 Palestinians killed, 55 persons more than day 214, plus at least 78,404 wounded, 200 persons more than day 214, equal a total of 113,248 casualties. 113,248 casualties equal 527 per day of an estimated 5,385,12 people, or approximately 2% of the West Bank and Gaza Palestinian population, with 34,789 Palestinians killed. That's an average of 162 per day. As of May 5th, 2024, more than 496 killed in occupied West Bank and East Jerusalem Palestinians, non-Gaza. So again, the carnage continues. The carnage continues. The carnage continues. All right. Lee Grant says, we don't really have a democracy or a constitutional republic. It's more like a tug of war between the left, who wants loose voting, and the right. I disagree with that, but what can I say? All right. What else we got here from my peeps? Egberto, should we have the same kind of voter laws as Europe? I don't know, but I mean, I don't know the voter laws in Europe, I must admit. But I imagine the reason you said that is because Europe probably have tight voter laws with respect to people having to have IDs. That's fine. I am saying I want voting as simple as possible, as simple as possible. We have already proven that illegal, undocumented folks don't vote. And it's senseless for them to want to vote, right? Think about it. Why would they vote, open themselves up for being caught and deported? I mean, the right wing look at its people and make them concerned about things they don't have to be concerned about because they don't think you have a lot upstairs. Remember that. The Powell memo makes the assumption that you don't have upstairs, or they will make sure that you don't have a lot upstairs. All right. Michael Brudnin says, Mike C. might find the commentary from Europeans of interest. Great. What does it say? What does it say? Let me see if it's a quick thing for me to read. That Radnin put. Voting in Germany is very easy. When you turn 18, you can vote in local elections. Sometimes 16 is a magic age to be able to vote. You have to do exactly zilch, nothing. You are registered at birth with the registry office. If you move, you have to inform the old and new address. From 16 years old on, you have to have a personalized and ID card. So there you go, folks. You're automatically registered, unlike what we have here. We have to separately register to vote. That is nothing more than voter suppression. All right, continuing. From Paul Fleming, it says, Maddo, the way you lose your democracy is by losing the expectation that we are participating in an election because all sides in the election plan to accept the result. Exactly. Let's see. Another mass grave was found in Gaza, according to E2247 Al-Shifa Hospital compound today, May 8, 2024. Shame. Mike Cisak says Trump had fixed the illegal immigration on the southern border. That's what you call wishful thinking. If you think Trump had fixed the border problem, wake up. It shows that you're delusional. It was Biden who removed all of the agreements. That's not what he removed. He removed the inhumane tactics used by Trump. I rather humanity over these. Well, let's go to another question. I won't bother with that at all. Paul Fleming says, call me crazy, but maybe presidents who get themselves indicted shouldn't have their criminal trials presided over by judges they themselves appointed. I think that's a fair thing. Lee Grant says Biden rolled out the red carpet on immigration. No, he didn't. He didn't roll out the red carpet, but neither did the indigenous people roll out the red carpet for the settlers and the colonists who came to this country. Be careful when you're pointing fingers because they're pointing back. All right. Tom C says, let's see, 3 of our Trump trials now likely delayed until after the November election. More important than ever to make every vote count. and helped Biden win in a landslide against Donnie the dictator. And I already smell a landslide. If you doubt it, as maybe I look, if I don't find it now, I'll have to look for it. But I just got, I am on the mailing list for the Quinnipiac poll. And interestingly, there is the polls are all moving in an interesting direction. Let me see if I can find that Quinnipiac poll right now. But the Quinnipiac poll hasn't been very kind to Biden. Seemed to have made a distinct turn. Let me read it for you. The Wisconsin 2024 race, Biden leads in a two-way race. And what does that two-way race look like? Biden at 50%, which is a magic number, and Trump at 44%, a 6-point lead. If it's a five-way race, Biden still wins 40 to 39 in a three-way race. Tammy Baldwin is ahead 52-42. And protest over Israel, all of that is in the poll. But what I'm saying is, you look at the same poll all of the times for consistency. Quinnipiac consistently had Biden in trouble. Now it actually have him with a 50 to 44 lead is a damn good lead. And let me tell you better, like I said, by the time this is all over, it will be a landslide, not only for Biden, but all down the Democratic ticket, because the truth of the matter is Republican politicians have gone batshit crazy. The kinds of things that they support, it's just crazy. All right, let's see what else we got here. Alzarin Dreams, hello all. Hi Alzari, where are you from? I like to call people out by their location. Tom C is in Michigan. Paul Fleming says Leonard Leo realized it wasn't enough to have justices on his side. They needed to decide the right cases brought by the right lawyers, heard by the right lower courts. He built a machine to do just that. All episodes available now. Okay, thank you. What else have we got here? Paul Fleming says a Berlin senator was attacked while visiting a library on Tuesday amid what appears to be an increasing trend of violence against politicians in Germany. Michael Rodden says Europe has automatic voter registration at birth. Europe has a much higher voter turnout rate than ours, doing everything they can to encourage your citizens. Kind of the opposite from what Republicans want to do. That said, there are a few nations with even higher voter turnout rates than the European nations. Pretty good. Okay, let's continue. Egberto, Biden removed the agreement, remain in Mexico. Why? What does remain in Mexico mean? It's a stupid agreement. Oh, these people migrate here and they stay in Mexico and live in squalors around the river when they have relatives and families over here, or they can be populated over here. Come on, man. Where's the humanity? Remain in Mexico. There's nothing humane about remain in Mexico. Absolutely nothing. You guys talk about being Christians. What kind of Christians are you? Read the Bible and what the Bible say about the foreigner. My God. Okay, let's continue, my brothers and sisters. Houston, Texas. Alisadin Dreams. Welcome, Alisadin Dreams. Great to have you here. 1351 Union Strong, Texas. Union Strong. I love it. I am with you. Union Strong. All right, let's continue now with our second video. Jamaal Bowman, love this guy. I want you to listen to what he did in the conference today, the hearing about antisemitism. All right, I want you to hear the antisemitism rant. Here we go right now. Republican congressmen and congresswomen are out there having these hearings. Now we have a hearing on whether anti-Semitism, about anti-Semitism and all the institutions that are not behaving that they should. Of course, look, anti-Semitism is real. There's no doubt about it. But to have the Republicans be the ones having hearing, one of the particular party that had nothing really negative to say about the march in Virginia, when we had people marching saying, Jews will not replace us. And when we had Donald Trump not actively coming out against those people who were chanting, Jews will not replace us, they want us to believe now that somehow they care about our Jewish brothers and sisters, that they care about anti-Semitism, when the reality is they have a very anti-Semitic sect within their bodies. They forget when they're talking about these protests that are occurring here on campuses, that they try to turn into some sort of an anti-Semitic rant. They forget that a part of that in those protests, a large portion of those protests include Jewish students who understand the truth, Jewish students who understand that what's occurring in Gaza is in effect a genocide. They understand that what's occurring in Israel as a whole is an apartheid state. Define apartheid and then talk about Gaza and the West Bank. Please, folks, don't let folks tell you your eyes are not seeing what they are seeing. And that's why I love what Jamaal Bowman did, as Representative Jamaal Bowman from New York. That's why I love what he did in the Congress as they were having these sham hearings, because he told the truth. Remember what I say. Stop listening to these people's bloviate and look at the reality. And he forced a big reality onto the entire body at that time. Listen now, and then we'll take it on the other side.
We must fight hate in all its forms at the same time. I have members of Congress talking about teachers teaching hate. None of them have an education background, by the way. They're talking about teachers teaching hate. I work in Congress. When you go in the rotunda and you look at American history, you see colonists coming in and taking over America from the Native Americans. There is no reference to the black people who built this country in our rotunda. But we're scolding you about teaching hate. You know how many black statues there are in the Capitol? 3. You know how many Confederate statues there are in the Capitol? 12. I work in an institution that teaches hate.
Jamaal Bowman nails it. The people who want to have the biggest voices to criticize those kids that are fighting, to criticize those people that are doing their jobs appropriately. You can't listen to these people. You have to listen to those who matter, those who have a record of unity, a record of equity, a record of promoting all those issues, a record of creating racial harmony, not those bloviating for a false cause. Let's get real. Bowman nailed it.
We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead. Number 1, subscribe to our channel. And number 2, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want. So help us, please join.
Absolutamente join us, folks. Anyway, a record of racial animus that the left pushes. No, actually, that's not true. In fact, Mike Cisak, even if you listen to some of your commentary where it shows that you have, I don't know if it's explicitly or I don't know if it's sort of just you don't notice it, but you have a very anti-black stance, my brother. You try to find every fault in society and try to find some way to criminalize it against black people. You do it all of the times in our chats. It won't be long before you do it today. I mean, we can go search all your chats and you'll see that. But anyhow, above and beyond that, many of the right only uses the anti-Semitism trope to try to make a point. But again, like I said, I want progressives to lean into what the Republicans are doing right now, because we are on the right side of the issue. If not necessarily in our hearts, at least in our verbiage, we are on the right side of history. Anyway, folks, so give me a call. If anybody wants to give me a call, 281-823-7747. Again, that number is 281-823-7747. Lee Grant says racial animus to the lifeblood and the left and the woke. No, actually, I want everybody to be woke. Woke means you are aware, folks. Woke means you don't allow people to pull things over your head or your eyes. Woke mean you're awake. Be woke. And don't let them try to turn woke into a negative feeling. I am woke. And most of my progressives in this chat, they're woke. Woke is very important for success. Slavery is the anti-woke. Remember that. Slavery, the anti-woke. And it seems like I have something that I constantly want. And I got it today. I got my feed in today from the one and only Tom Zarnik. So Tom, let's get busy. Here we go. So Trump wants to return to the White House as its lodger. One of his friends was Nixon's advisor. His name is Roger. Avoid Vietnam with bone spurs. Dojo became an artful dodger. At his New York trial, his two big blue eyes keep closing. But drowsy Don claims he's just resting and meditating, not dozing. Narcoleptic, apoplectic, with a toddler's petulance and an old man's flatulence. 45 prowls and howls in hallways, staring and glaring always. Then scowls and growls in court day after day, struggling to control his temper and his bowels as a fartful codger. You must have gotten the memo that Trump is on that table, falling asleep, and as he's sleeping, he's tooting quite often, leaving the room a smelly mess. Reported by many. Wow. Mike Cisak says woke is all about stroking racial and sex animus by separating people into groups to put them against each other. No. The right does a great job of that. We don't do that. All right, Lizard Queen says, Michael, before I argue with you further, do you believe in the moon landing? Of course, I do. Then we have evidence that we landed on the moon. Paul Fleming Sr. says, the nation's first solar power electric truck charging depot just opened, and it's in the Golden State. Where else would it be? E2247 says, when I was awakened, I awoke to be awake instead of dead. And you're right. But of course, Eric would come back and say, blowing smoke could be a joke if trying just your best to be woke. None of you can match the prowess of the one and only Tom Zarnik, who is our resident Lemricker, if that's a word. All right. Paul Fleming says, breaking. The Biden administration is planning to announce a new regulation as early as Thursday that is designed to allow immigration officials to deport migrants who are ineligible for U.S. asylum early in the process. 3 sources familiar with internal plans told CBS News. And Tom C. says Eric is a poet too. No, we're not going to give Eric that. I love Eric, but Eric is no poet. No. We have one poet, and that's Brother Tom in the house. Eric is good at many other things, but he's not a poet. All right, Mike Cisak says, Egberto, what do you think of the documents case in FL being put on hold indefinitely? Well, it's a judge appointed by Trump. The guy committed treason, but what can I say? And that the GA is taking up the court. I mean, the Georgia Supreme Court has taken up, or the appeals court has taken up many things, and every single time the Trump and his cabal has lost. I expect them to lose as well here. Lizard Queen says, go Tom, great job. And yes, go Tom, great job. All right, we have one last video. But before we go to the last video, let me see if I get any calls. 281-823-7747. Where are you? 281-823-7747. Anybody wants to call in, say hi, talk about something before I go to the last video? We have the time to answer a few calls if you call in. Again, the number is 281-823-7747. Would love to get more calls from you guys here on our good telephone. And I'm going to try to fix it soon that you can stay from your computer and hit a button. And when you hit that button, you automatically uses your camera and your phone to talk. Haven't done it yet, but I want to do it. Michael Radden says, how many times will Trump and his cronies act lawless and get away with crimes? We're already seeing the tip of the spear in New York as his business fraud case is being put to air. Yeah. Let's volunteer. From Paul Fleming, let's volunteer. Local election officials will still need more resources to do their jobs. According to our latest survey, 43% of election workers fear they can't recruit enough poll workers for this November's election. That's what they want. They want to put the fear of people into not coming to the election. But you know what, folks? People are going to step up. People will step up. I am very sure that our peeps are going to step up. So, folks, start stepping up. All right, let's see what else we've got. Anybody else has anything before call in? 281-823-7747. Again, 281-823-7747. Mike Cisak says the Trump New York fraud case is on life support, will likely result in not guilty. Well, we'll see. Only jury nullification could cause that. Again, Mike Cisak, be careful where you get your news, because when you guys lose elections, remember how many times you told me, oh, it's going to be wait to what's happening, because your right-wing media was just blowing smoke up, you know what? We always knew that we were going to win, but you were so vested in a false belief that you took it to heart, and the hurt was that much more when it came. Eric Hayes says, looks like Smith blew the documents case by cheating. No, not really. Mike Cisak says, so far, the New York fraud case hasn't pointed to an actual crime. Actually, it has. But again, that won't be said in your right-wing media. But I feel for you. I genuinely feel for you. All right, one more call before I go to the video. 281-823-7747. I want to hear from somebody. 281-823-7747. Melissa Bowie is in the house. Beautiful. She says, I don't even understand what Eric is saying. We fight to understand what Eric is saying many a times, but Eric is a good guy. All right, let's see. No fraud and no one cheated. You know what? Let me tell you what I don't understand, Melissa. And I would love you should call in and talk about this. These people on the right who claim to be so religious. This woman goes on the stand and explain how this guy pretty much raped a woman, if not officially, but in using his power. You know, think about it, Melissa. Think about it. This guy raped a woman. This guy take advantage of women. We've actually have videos with him at the Miss America trying to hold on and kiss on women. No respect whatsoever. This guy cheats on his taxes. He cheats people who owes him. He creates fake universities. All of this crap. And these people who claim to be the party of life. These people who claim to believe in the law and order. They support this guy. How can you possibly take these people seriously? You cannot. But since I don't have a call, I'll go to the next video. And the last video is coming up at this very, very moment. All right. Reagan said government is not the solution. Government is the problem. All the cues that we get in our society that starts out from our plutocracy, whether that's been given to Reagan by those people who wrote the Powell memo or following the guidance of, it's amazing because think about what you say Whenever you say government is not the solution, government is the problem. But what is government? Government is we, the people. So inherently, these people at the top are telling you that the problem is we, the people. And that's what a lot of people don't understand, right? When these guys started with all these memes, with all these phrases to let you hate government this, government that, right? It was a calculated effort by these documents that were written by these conservative foundations. And the idea is this: government is we, the people. We all create government. We decide who is going to serve us, etc. So we are the ones who put them there. Now, we are a piece of that. When somebody starts to tell you government is a problem or government this or government this, they are neutering you. They're telling you you don't have the power. When they say we need to turn this over to the private sector, whenever you hear somebody talking like that, it means they want you to turn it over to the autocrat. Who is the private sector and who does the private sector? I'm not talking about free enterprise that all of us can do our own businesses, etc. When they say turn it over, they mean turn it over to that same person you were talking about there, Jack. Corporate personhood, right? Remember what these guys did. The corporations have become a person, and that's not figuratively, that's literally. A corporation has an existence as a human being in our society. When you sue a corporation, you don't sue the president and the vice president and the different people in the corporation. So a corporation can effectively do wrong by its board of directors, etc. And who gets sued? The corporations. And that theology has been used for a whole lot of stuff. People going in and raiding the economies out of corporations and let that corporation go bankrupt. So you steal from the corporation. You ever heard of Bain's Capital? The thing that Mitt Romney used to run? What did they do? They raid corporations, and after they raid it, that individual entity gets to claim bankruptcy and stiff all the people that they owe. And the person who robbed that corporation is scotch-free because the one who robbed them was the corporations. And all we did was get the spoils of what that corporation got for us. It's a little bit complicated. That's one of the things that we try to do here. But I want everybody to understand this. The calculation, as Jack was talking about, was put into existence by the Powell memo and all these actually it's before that, but the Powell memo kind of put it all together as how do we maintain that? How do we maintain that people isolate themselves from government and somehow buy into the fallacy that an individual corporation, the private sector, who has no democracy, can somehow do better for you or have your better interest at hand over the interests of those who invest in that corporation. Again, people, understand this. Yesterday, I spoke about when Donald called in, I spoke about an article that I'm writing about the fraud that is our economic system. And I haven't had the time to sit down and spend the amount of time necessary to do it in the right way, because what I come out with, you guys have to pick it up and corroborate what I'm saying to say, okay, Egberto is not full of crap. Everything that he says here, I can actually see. Because you see, they rob us in plain sight because they've already trained us to be robbed. They already trained us to be taken advantage of. Whenever you say government is not the problem, government is not the solution, it's the problem, they have already taken away your pride. They have already told you that, wait a minute, you are too dumb to have government. So therefore, it is we, those people who have, as Jack said, capital, the defense industrial complex, the healthcare industrial complex, the drug industrial complex, the hospital industrial complex, all these private sector entities that rip you off. You go to get an x-ray and it costs $1,000. Well, if you may not pay, but your HMO does. That's those people out there that claim they are the solution. Remember that. Remember, we, the people, we can choose to do better. We ourselves can say, we are going to elect people who are going to serve us. We are going to elect people who are going to serve us. I didn't know, Melissa, that Miss USA, did Miss USA Noella Voyant's resignation statement contain a hidden message? I didn't know that she quit. Let's see what it says here. It says, Noella Voigt's decision to relinquish Miss USA crown has sparked a flurry. Is that a recent article? Yep, a flurry of online speculations after fans noticed a strange detail about her statement. Voigt, who was awarded Miss USA in September 2023, announced in a September Monday Instagram that she has decided to resign. In life, I strongly value the importance of making decisions that feel best for you and your mental health. But in the comments of her posts and elsewhere on social media, users noticed that taking the first letter in each sentence of her statement reveals the phrase, I am silenced. Wow. That's interesting. I strongly value the importance of making decisions that feel best for you and your mental health. Oh, wow. That is, wow. That, let me ask you this. For those of you who just read that, let me put that message on that, because wow. Letters of which spell hip. The first letters of which spell hip. Huh. That is interesting. That is her message. I strongly value, and you said I am silenced. Where does it say I am silenced in there, though? I don't see it. Maybe I have to look at it a little bit better, but that is interesting. Who would determine that? Anyhow, folks, anybody wants to give us a call before we end the program today? 281-823-7747. Again, that is 281-823-7747. Let's see. Did Pelosi raided the stock market with insider info to get rich? Oh, my God. Let's see. Alziran Dream says, government is us. Roads, firemen, policemen, elections, game wardens, Coast Guard, military, schools. That is us. Yes, it is, my dear. Yes, it is. Let's say it's rare to come to an agreement with Mike C. The biggest problem with government is the corporate corruption of big money in politics. Absolutely so. Absolutely so. Yep. Maybe that's a part of agreement we can come to, right? And Michael Ryan says, Eric H. Partisan doesn't recognize that most of Congress has an insider trading problem. New York Times. These 97 members of Congress reported trades in companies influenced by their committees. Yes, it is. Lee Grant says, I like Elise Stefanik. Oh, you shouldn't. She was on fire. Ivy League antisemitism. She's not very smart. Let's say Finner on vacation now. No, I think he retired, right? It turned out he knew about it a little bit earlier than he said he did. Gotta have good people running things. Mike Andrews. Welcome, Michael McAndrews. Great to have you here. We also have Eric K. says, rooting dirty is dirty. Run din. I don't know what that is. All right. Mike Cisak says, when you go to regulate business owners will make it their business to influence those regulators. Well, that's life, right? But what do you prefer? Not regulating business and allow them to pollute your land, pollute your oil, your gas, produce your water? Is that what you're talking about? Michael Radden said, Michael McAndrews, you got it. Government is only ever as good as the people we elect. Absolutely true. He got it right. All right, folks, I'm going to be giving my little ask right now because it's about getting time for us to leave right now. I want to ask everybody who has the wherewithal to do so to please support our program. Our program needs your support. And how can you effectively support our program? There is an all-encompassing link that is politicsdoneright.com/support. If you go to politicsdoneright.com/support, it provides you with all the different options in which to support our program. But we also are supported via the Patreon network. If you want to become a patron, you get a chance to read all our books as well, free of charge. Go to politicsdoneright.com/Patreon. politicsdoneright.com/patrons. You can also just go ahead and purchase our books that help support the cause. We only make a little bit of money on the books, but you know what? Every little bit helps. Go to politicsdoneright.com/books and read one of the 5 books that I've written thus far, and more to come. More important books to come. And of course, our newsletter that goes out every morning at 5 in the morning. Every morning at 5 in the morning, we have our newsletter that goes out with what the program is going to be at KPFT 90.1 at 6 a.m. But also in that same newsletter channel, we send out blogs, pretty solid blogs that I write on a daily basis. Sometimes I write 2 blogs. Sometimes I write 4 blogs. There is times that I've even written as much as 7 blogs, 8 blogs a day because there was so much happening. So I ask you so kindly to please consider being a paid subscriber of our newsletter. All paid subscribers of our newsletter get access to all 5 of my books and all subsequent books that I write. Become a paid subscriber at politicsdoneright.com/newsletter, politicsdoneright.com/newsletter, and get access to all of my books. Of course, you can join on YouTube as well and many other ways to support the program. But again, the best way to support the program is either through our Patreon, through PayPal, or our newsletter. And the newsletter, again, just become a subscriber, a paid subscriber, politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. As usual, I like to say thank you guys so kindly for being here. I know there are many other places. The internet is huge and vast. There are many other places you could be, but you're here, and I'm honored that you're willing to hear. You're willing to make a difference. You're willing for us to do what we know we have to do, and that is to get the progressive message out there. There are messages all over coming. The one focus that we must have is the progressive message. So I want to thank all of you. I want to thank all of you for being here, and please return, please share, please join, please support. We need all of that all at once. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right, and you guys know how I end this baby. I am what? Out.
We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead. Number 1, subscribe to our channel, and number 2, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want. So help us, please join.